What is up, you heathens and demons, you sinners and saints, beautiful blasphemous bastards? Welcome back to the Rage. I'm sure more will be joining us. We just had, and I was going to say epic, but we had a debate, and I had it against Gavin. I thought I did really well, but that is usually the opinion of a debater. So we're going to have an open room. We will be bringing people on to tell me what they thought. All criticisms are welcome. And yeah, let's have fun. But we are going to start with just the four of us now for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll throw the link into the side chat. John Peterson is here, though. What's up, John?
Well, first, let me say,
oh, thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, and not only were you the superior interlocutor, but I thought you were more reasonable throughout the whole thing. And I have to say, and it kills me to fucking say this, you don't know how much it kills me to say this, Smokey actually did an excellent job moderating. I thought that maybe, Knock might be going into a 2-on-1 situation. But holy shit. Yeah, I think Nathan Artwork, I think somebody pointed that out the other day, that if John had a mustache, he'd look like this guy next to Knock over here. I don't know if that's what you meant, but yeah, somebody did bring that up the other night. So at any rate, Jay and Sunflower were having a pretty excellent discussion before we went live. I want them to get back to that here when we can. But I just wanted to point out the two biggest things that stuck out to me, as far as the argument went. In his closing, Gavin had said that Knock was trying to turn it into a debate about whether God existed and about morality. Well, first of all, Gavin more than once tried to steer it towards the God existence, whether God existed. And then the other thing is you can't talk about the superior, which one is superior, atheism or Christianity, without talking about morality. I mean, ethics is a big part of, what, for lack of a better term, for what worldview is superior. Even though, we say that atheism is not like a monolithic worldview. The other thing that just cracked me up was when, and he said it a few times, he said that God and the resurrection can be proven through induction. And then when asked to give his inductive argument for the existence of God, for the validity of the resurrection, he couldn't do it. And it's kind of ludicrous, because if you know what induction is, if you're going to say that the resurrection can be proven by induction, when nobody in the history of mankind has ever died and come back from death except that one claim of Jesus, because when you're doing an inductive argument, you're basing it on what has happened in the past that will indicate what is happening in the future. And nobody ever resurrected before Jesus. So you can't inductively say that the resurrection is true. I mean, it's just it's not possible.
Well, except for those people that came out of the grave in Matthew and Lazarus.
Well, that's just a biblical claim,
Well,
I mean,
exactly.
I guess now.
The whole zombie apocalypse thing when Jesus died is kind of weird.
Well, I just said that because if Jill was here and he heard that, he goes, "Oh no, it's not the only person that rose. You know better than that, John Peterson."
The other thing that I was kind of, I felt sorry for Gavin at this point, because Knock clearly pointed out, and I think he's actually low. The the nuns, the one with no religious affiliation, is around 25%. And then you quoted, which I know that there are polls out there that say there's only 3% of atheists, but I believe there's more than that now. There's more than like 10% that are atheists. But even so,
I think the numbers I read were a bit old. Yeah,
right. But even so, all right. Let's just say the 3% is accurate. Not point out 3% atheist population. The population is 3% atheist, and the population of prisons is 0.2% atheist. I mean, that should be a pretty easy thing to pick up on. And Gavin was just like,
no. Listen, the sample size is too small on that. It just is.
What do you mean?
Do you have a citation for that?
Look, when you're
because I can point you to numerous polling, numerous studies that show that those figures are accurate.
Yeah, again, this was all information that I've found.
No, I'm not saying it's not accurate. Hold on.
I think arguing that might be getting into the weeds, because the problem is that in the crux of the conversation, whether or not you have a certain group whether you have more of a particular demographic that's in prison than the other, we're talking about an ideology, and we're trying to compare two ideologies. Christianity,
and a direct claim from Gavin that
right.
Christians commit less crime than atheists do. So you have to go to the numbers that are available.
Well, right, and he specifically, wait. He also specifically said that atheists represent a larger portion of the prison population, which is just patently false, demographically, and
you go to prison, you're going to find a lot of God believers, and you're not going to find. They talk about there's no atheist in foxholes. Let me tell you, there's not very many atheists in prison.
Well, not really apropos of the discussion, and I want to let Sunflower go because he was trying to get in there on that. I kind of jumped over him. I've always said that there shouldn't be atheists in foxholes. I mean, it should be all people that believe in God that go to war, because they have less to lose than atheists do. I mean, if they get their head blown off in war, they get to go live with their father in the golden streets of heaven.
What is death really to a Christian, honestly? But let's let Sunflower go, because Sunflower is going to have some criticisms. I welcome criticisms. Any Christian that would like to come in and criticize my debate performance or some of the things that I put out there during the debate, please feel free. We will be putting the link in the side chat very soon. We do want to get back to the conversation Jay and Sunflower was having, but please, Sunflower, go.
Sunflower's trying to get in on what I was, and just to repeat it to refresh everybody's memory. The population of the United States is 3% atheist, yet the prison population is only 0.2% atheist, and I think Sunflower wanted to offer a rebuttal to that. Go ahead, Sunflower.
So all I wanted to say is that the median age for atheists in the U.S. is 34. Atheism is typically not something that people identify as in their, teenage and early 20s years. It's usually something that people sort of adopt because as they mature, they're like, this whole thing was like, I was raised with a false belief of religion. So now I identify as an atheist, right? So it's like the sample size of that 3% is disproportionately outside of the demographic that's predisposed to committing crimes. Okay.
All right, sure, maybe. So you make a decent point, but I also brought up other points, such as non-religious countries having lower murder rates, non-religious states having lower murder rates than the deep red religious states, such as Louisiana, Alabama.
What's a non-religious country?
A more secular Western civilization country. If you're going to talk about non-religious, we're talking about. I'm talking about Sweden. Norway, Finland, Sweden. I mean, there's a list of them. These are all statistically and all included within my argument. But let's keep it here to the United States. If you look at the Bible Belt, the place that is most religious in the United States. You have the highest murder rates in the country. You have the highest rates of domestic abuse in the country.
What
So I
areas are those?
included all of real statistics against a fucking claim that Gavin made. Gavin made the claim. I provided evidence against the claim.
What areas are those that have the highest crime rate that are the most religious?
What are you talking about?
You just said that the areas in the U.S. that have some of the highest crime rates are some of the most religious. I'm asking you, what areas are you referring to?
I listed 2 of those states predominantly. We're talking Louisiana, Alabama, your Bible Belt southern states.
You mean some of the most impoverished states in the country? That some of
Sure. Oh, yeah. So now we want to include poverty into the equation. You see, but
Yes,
Gavin was stating
of course.
atheism was in the equation. So that's what you're conflating. You're attacking my arguments against a very basic argument from your fellow Christian. Why not attack his?
Whoa.
You see, because my arguments are in direct retaliation to what he was claiming. My arguments are statistical fact. You can go and look at them.
Poor people commit more crimes.
Sure, that's an element of that. That's not the claim that Gavin made.
People are incidentally also more religious. The religious part's not what's causing them to commit crimes. It's the poor and desperate part.
Wait. Here's the thing. Okay, but that's not the point that Knock's throwing at you. What he's saying is that he gave that as a response to a claim that Gavin made. Okay, you're absolutely correct. Correlation doesn't always equal causation, and that there's other mitigating factors as to why those areas are crime-ridden.
Right. No rich Christians in America are committing like violent crimes.
Are you fucking serious?
No, hold on, buddy. We're talking about like Louisiana. You're talking about like people born into.
You just said that no rich Christians are committing violent crimes.
Yes, I stand by that.
You stand by that. Do you think that the mafia aren't Christian?
The mafia.
Do you think that they're not?
That's your response.
Do they not hold a Christian God belief? Most
of
them.
That the mafia,
the Italian mob here.
Allow me to respond. You think the mafia's motivated to make crimes because of their?
No, I did not say that. You just made a claim that no rich Christian commits crime.
Well,
I responded
negligible amount of rich Christians commit
I would
violence.
consider the mafia to be rich people.
Yeah, they're nominally
Christian. and they would be Christians.
No.
Right?
The data you're using from Louisiana and Alabama are essentially poor inner city urban areas.
I think Jay's hitting his head against the wall.
Well,
I'm fucking.
No, my mic's still on, and I'm killing mosquitoes.
I think we got. I think you are you Gavin's child?
What? God, please don't. No,
don't insult you like that. You're giving his fucking arguments perfectly. I mean,
no, I'm not. Listen, now, religion is a community builder for poor inner city areas. Point blank. Period. Okay, when you're talking about Louisiana, New Orleans, yes, are they nominally Christian? Yes, but are they? Is that what's called? Are they?
We're talking about the most. My statement was the most religious areas of the country. Are they not the most religious areas of the country?
Are what not the most religious areas?
Oh my fucking God!
The South, and this is the thing. You're kind of making the point.
No, the most impoverished areas are correlated to religion and crime.
To Christianity.
Okay, so how does that? Yeah, so how does that make Christianity now superior to anything?
Because Christianity is
But you're talking about a superiority of something working the way it works. This is. I didn't even agree. I didn't even really like the way this thing was set up because atheism is a proposition, right? And Christianity is a religion. And the only reason this debate wants to be had is because you still got Christians that think atheism is a religion.
Yeah, or a worldview. And I try to make that clear in my opening statement and all of that.
Listen.
Based on the definition Gavin gave me as superior.
Inner city urban communities that are committing a disproportionate amount of violent crime are not doing it in the name of Christianity.
Nobody claimed that.
Yeah, nobody claimed that. Nobody said that.
Well, Okay,
You're
then why
saying
are
that.
you referencing that there's any relation?
Because it was a claim Gavin made, and not
Gavin said
no,
it, dude.
what did Gavin say?
Gavin said
Gavin
that
say?
atheists commit more crime than Christians. So I threw out facts to combat his claim. You're trying to break down these facts and, well, yeah, they're Christians, but they're poor. No, Gavin didn't want to have a conversation about criminality and what leads to it. He wanted to label atheists as criminals, and I debunked him.
I don't even know. So wait, what was the original point that we were even talking about? Actually, I'm lost at this point.
I think you're very lost, sir.
He's talking about the way he responded to a claim that Gavin made. That's it.
Yeah, Gavin's claim was that about that the Christian population was predominantly atheist, that Christians committed less crimes than atheists, and then Knock brought up the points he brought, and when he brought his points up in rebuttal, he wasn't talking about what you're talking about now, as far as to dig down into it and see what the real causes of the criminality were. He was just rebutting Gavin's fallacious claims about the numbers of individuals, the demographics of prisons.
And there were tons of them. I've got 6 pages of notes rebutting them because he listed them out on Praise's channel a few days ago. He literally gave me his arguments, so I had plenty of time to do the research and see that he was full of shit.
Well, real quick, I would like to just add so there was a prepared speech by Knock, and then which we could critique that, but then there was what Gavin did, which wasn't a speech, it was a laundry list of talking points, and you didn't even have to have a debate. All he had to do was just say, okay, we'll just sit down and we'll have a moderated conversation, and I'm going to read off these talking points that I hold to, and we're going to address them one by one. That's all you really had to do in that conversation. But Gavin always likes to pit this idea that Christianity is a worldview, atheism is a worldview. Well, yep. Christianity is a type of theism. It's a defined type of theism. But if you look at just theism and atheism, they're just opposite positions on a given proposition. Yep. That's it. They don't have any. They have no tenets. They have nothing to them. Yeah, I believe X to be the case. I believe X to not be the case. That's pretty much them in a nutshell. That is what they're trying to say. A religion, atheism is by that.
Which I stated several times. My worldview is secular humanism and naturalism. I said that several times. I said atheism, by definition, that we agreed to on the definition of superiority. I said atheism can be labeled as the same type because it is a belief, such as Christianity is a belief, such as belief in God is a belief, just as Jay is saying. So the conversation, Gavin was there to demonize atheists. I was there to provide arguments why I reject Christianity, why I find atheism to be a better solution, a better answer to that question of belief.
The other thing that he did that, and something Jay said reminded me of this is he a few times he tried to indict you for not giving actual data, actual figures. Well, that's what it was. Jay had said about how his opening was just like listing all these statements as if they were facts, and he never once delved into the numbers. And I think Knock even at one point asked him to delve into the actual numbers, and he either wouldn't or couldn't.
Let me unmute, and I did provide data. So let me find it. It was it was a Christian group. It was like Barna, something like that. And I'll pull it up and I'll share screen the numbers that I find. I think I got the wrong papers here. Over there. All right. So I got a lot of notes. All right. So the Barna Research Group. I'll pull it up and I will show you the numbers that I'm looking at that they said were not factual. And I said it in the debate. Barna Research Group is an evangelical Christian organization that does surveys and research to better understand what Christians believe and how they behave. So I'm going to pull up this research group. Please continue to discuss, and then I'll share screen once I have it.
So, Knock, I have to tell you something. I'm being a bad boy tonight, and you can whip me with a wet noodle later for doing it. But I just hid Jill, so you can hide him afterwards. Fuck Jill. He's not an honest.
It happens.
Poor Jill.
Yeah. I mean, and any mods that are here, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the plethora of sock accounts that Jill has. If any of them show up, please delete them. Don't even time them out. Just kick them, and then Knock can go back later and restore their privileges. But I've noticed if there's any other Christians in the live chat, we are going to open this up. Anybody that wants to come in, but I do want to. We talked about so many different things here. I forgot already, but if you and Jay remember, like, what was that you and Jay were kind of fleshing out before we went live? Was there more to?
Yeah, it was just a technique in case it was just a technique with Gavin's claim when he talks about Christianity having the intellectual high ground based on the number of scientists, the majority of Nobel Prize winners, and so on, as compared to atheists or non-believers.
Yeah, and you're refreshing my memory, and I believe that just before we went live, Sunflower was saying something about the fact that, well, how do you explain that very little of these scientific minds were not Muslim?
Yeah, and that's kind of an obscure point. The trick is the thing is it's a technique to use with what he's talking about. If he agrees that the majority of scientists, right? So if you're engaging with Gavin at that particular point, and he says, well, yeah, if you look at this, and then you say, well, would you agree that there's more Christians than there are atheists? And he goes, well, certainly. I said, so it follows that there would be more Christian scientists than the opposite, correct? And he says, sure, right? And you go, okay. So what about these Christians that don't hold to the scientific consensus of the theory of evolution? Even some Christians who hold to, or remember, not all Christians do this, not all of them, but there are Christians that hold to this, to like flat Earth and the age of the universe, who believe that the planet is only 6,000 years old. Have a
right, and just real quick, Jay, on that point. I remember this now, and I would, because I know that I could hear like the top of Sunflower's head coming off when you said that before we went live about how the flat Earth and I don't believe you were saying all Christians believe that. You're pointing out that from the Christian worldview, that's where a lot of those ideas come from. That some Christians believe the Earth is flat and that the Earth is only 6,000 years old. But I want to just have you halt right there and let Sunflower, give his rebuttal that he was about to give before we went live. But.
Yeah, and again, to reiterate, this is based on how Gavin would respond to this and how he would think other Christians. Again, if he holds to the idea that the majority of, scientists, because scientists hold that intellectual high ground, he agrees that the majority of scientists all over the world are predominantly Christian, right, or hold to a belief in God as compared to not. Okay, so how do you deal with Christians that are against certain scientific consensus if the consensus is coming from scientists and the majority of them are Christian and they hold that intellectual high ground? If for some reason you also hold to this idea that, well, why is there a theory of evolution being taught in schools? You go, well, how did that atheistic science that you might think that is, or satanic or whatever, I've heard Christians make all sorts of claims. If they're holding to that, that means somehow or another, someone who's not holding the intellectual high ground has smuggled into our entire system and education system.
No.
Yeah,
hold on.
I understand it. I know what's about to say. I want to welcome the people that are here.
That's just the way it can go.
Yeah.
And then we're going to let Sunflower respond to Jay there. And I just want to point out, why is it that whenever we post a link, P. Mars is the first one to show up? But go ahead, Sunflower.
Yeah, sure.
So, he has a crush on me.
So it's not being smuggled in. Liberal bias in education in the U.S. is not even...
does not exist.
Oh, God.
Okay, first of all, How about you look up the Wikipedia?
I have. It literally does not exist. I can
Leo
explain
Philly
why
is
it's
on. We're
fantastic.
doing something
Bible.
between
Hold on.
Sunflower and Jay right now.
Let him go.
Guys,
But yeah,
hold on.
Yeah, go, man.
Okay.
Go.
So the first part of breaking this down is that like in research science, right, in research universities, the professors that are actually doing research, this is completely divorced from like elementary, middle school, high school teachers. They're like generally elementary, middle school, high school teachers, they are not the ones publishing papers or doing research, because high schools are not research universities or institutions.
You're actually
you're
making my point for me.
conflating. No, you're conflating. No.
No, I'm not. No, before you get off track, I'm talking about. I'm not saying that schools are doing their own research. That's not my claim. The school systems have adopted, because of research, because of the overall scientific consensus of certain scientific theories, these things are accepted, like the theory of evolution, the age of the best known explanation for the age of the Earth, and so on, right? And the fact that the Earth is round, right? And yet you have Christians that are against the theory of evolution. They're sometimes against the age of the universe. You don't always have young Earth creationists, and there are some Christians that hold to flat Earth instead of globe Earth. But all of that is consensus within the scientific community. And if you base that on the idea that Christians make up the majority of scientists in the world, because of that intellectual superiority that Christianity puts them in,
I can
continue with that.
I can neatly respond to this. Science is a vast field. A small section of it is.
This is not my argument.
No. Let me respond, Mr. Joker. A small section of science in academia is evolution and the shape of the Earth. So Christians can be over.
No, because I got to stop you right there. Okay, 97% of all scientists hold the theory of evolution to be valid. So that statement you just made right now is inaccurate.
No, what? No.
You said it was a small portion of the scientific community.
Hold
No. Listen to me. Listen to me. A small portion of. Let me. No, you misunderstood my point.
That's an echo. Tangelo needs to mute.
You misunderstood my point. A small portion of scientists are in the field of evolution. I'm not saying that if a physical chemist agrees with evolution, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying science is vast, right? People are in specialized fields. Mm-hmm. A small portion of that overarching scientific academia is concerned with the shape of the Earth and evolution. So whether or not a person that's looking into the science of viruses happens to agree with evolution is not saying they're an evolutionary scientist.
Okay, but do you know why that's
Wait
a minute. Do you know why that's fallacious, though, what you're saying, Sunflower?
Let me respond. Let me respond.
You can respond, but I just want to say that what he said was fallacious, because you're talking about the community of scientists who are all familiar with the scientific method, who are all able to analyze the studies that are done. So it doesn't matter how small of a portion evolution is as far as scientists go, how few of them are evolution scientists. Any scientist can examine the data and come to a conclusion. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But again, you're getting into something here that you don't have to necessarily get into, because it's based on how Gavin would react to it, and it's Gavin's claim, right? We could get into the minutia of that all we want, and that seems to be where you want to go. You want to look at, well, not all science necessarily focuses on this science and blah, blah, blah. Just like not all scientists that are predominantly Christian, as Gavin is claiming, all want Nobel Prize.
I'm responding to something very specific.
May I finish?
You can't finish.
You have to let him finish. Let him finish.
Okay, this is ridiculous. Go ahead.
Why is this? Okay, wait.
I'll
Now
tell
he's
you
made a
why.
claim. Why is
Yeah,
it ridiculous? Go ahead.
because the question was asked, how is it? I'm gonna literally. This is what was asked. How is
Yep.
it possible that so many Christians are represented in science, and yet the scientific consensus is evolution and globe Earth? That was the question that was posed to me. True or false?
That's based on what Gavin is using to argue that.
Was that the question that was asked of me? True or false?
That was not the question asked of you.
Okay,
You
let the
commented
record
on
show
a
it
te-
was. Let the record show it
No,
was.
wait.
No, it
No,
wasn't.
stop. That is disingenuous.
No, it's not.
I did not pose the question to you. I was talking about a technique based on Gavin's frame of mind when it comes to Christians being majority of scientists being Christians, if that's what he holds to, right? And that because of that intellectual high ground, that's also a demonstration of how Christianity is superior than atheism. And then you go from that to, okay, now what? But so how would you deal with these issues when you have Christians that question scientific consensus? It's just a technique, dude. You were disagreeing.
No.
The question was
Jay
not
has
meant.
clearly stated that several times.
If I'm a Christian scientist that's only been studying enzyme kinetics since my
You are still not getting this. But
no
go
no
ahead.
I am. Trust
No,
me,
you're
I
not.
am. Trust
doesn't
me,
seem
I
like
am.
it.
Trust me, I am. If I'm a
Okay.
Christian
Trust you
scientist,
then.
yeah. Well, listen
Sure.
to me. How about that? If I'm a Christian scientist that's been studying enzyme kinetics for the entirety of my scientific career, and I also happen to believe that evolution and the globe Earth is true, that is not. You're conflating that with a Christian scientist.
No, you're going.
No.
You're going. No, you're not going to. You're not going to the crux of the. You're not going to the crux of. You're talking about individualistic, but Gavin's statement is not based on individual scientists. His claim is based on the overall intellectual superiority of Christianity and how that's demonstrated in the majority of scientists who have won Nobel prizes in
Exactly.
That's true, and that's statistically true.
Exactly.
Okay,
So
exactly. So now, how does he wrestle with the idea of the questions when it comes to individuals who have issues with the scientific consensus? If this is being done, if the scientific consensus is all held by the majority of scientists that are on the intellectual high ground of being Christian, that was the whole point.
Wait,
of it.
what? Wait, just please ask that again, but can you make it a little bit more clear? That's what I'm. Please.
oh my fucking god.
This
So-
question
so-
doesn't make
fine.
sense. This question doesn't make sense. Please
Listen,
clarify it.
Okay.
Ask it
Let me
again.
clear. Let me
Ask
clear.
it.
Okay. The question is, and here it is in a nutshell. Gavin's claim is that Christians hold the intellectual high ground compared to atheists. This is demonstrated by the majority of Nobel Prize winners in science as compared to those who believe in God, as compared to those who don't believe in God, right? So you're talking about there's a greater amount, and so now you take that, and again, this is all dependent on the tactic in the conversation. If Gavin holds that the majority of scientists, if it is the case that the majority of scientists in the world hold to a Christian God belief, and that is also representative of the intellectual high ground as compared to atheism, and he agrees, then you ask about why is there issues with scientific consensus then when it comes to the theory of evolution, to flat Earth, or a flat Earth versus globe Earth, the age of the universe, and so on. It's based on his claim that there is a vast majority of all these people. This thing, it's kind of like a bandwagon fallacy. There's all these people, there's all these scientists, and all these scientists are Christians, and look at all the awards that they've won as compared to those who aren't Christian, right? Now you take it one step further. So do you think that the majority of scientists in the world are made up of people who believe in Christianity or are Christians?
Jay, there's people that identify as Christian that don't believe in young Earth and do believe in evolution.
I know, but
you
that's
fall
why...
apart here. You fall apart here.
Can you
that
mute
is the
him?
end.
Can you mute
the
him,
argument
please?
ends there.
Can you
Admit
mute...
defeat. Admit defeat.
I think
Admit
you're-
defeat. Listen,
Can you mute him?
Sunflower,
No.
you're not getting it, man.
You
You're
have
not getting
to
this
admit
at all.
defeat here.
No, you
I
don't.
don't.
This is
Granted,
where
you
your
missed-
argument crumbles.
Can you mute him? Can
You
you
don't
mute him,
understand it
please?
at all.
Can you mute him, please? Thank you. I did not omit that some people can also be of a differing opinion. There are some people, not all scientists, not all Christians hold to specifically young Earth or old Earth or they're not monolithic in that, right? We have Christians, we have examples of Christians that hold for some reason to flat Earth, right? But Gavin's argument is based on the majority of scientists being Christian, and this giving them the intellectual high ground to atheists. And so the conversation then becomes, well, how do you think you would deal with some of these Christians that are not holding to the scientific consensus?
All right,
if the scientific consensus, hold on.
Jay,
I'm almost done.
Right,
I'm almost done.
Go ahead.
If the scientific consensus is being made by a majority of Christians. That's all.
Okay, and here's maybe this will clarify it for you, Sunflower. With what Jay is saying, what he is saying is if you make the claim that the majority of scientists are Christian, and that gives Christendom the intellectual high ground, that's fallacious, because Christians that are scientists is a small portion of Christendom. Okay, so to say that because most scientists are Christians does not lend validity to the fact.
No, that's not my point.
What?
That's not the
point. You guys are lost. You guys are fucking lost.
I think I can summarize Jay's point in like 10 seconds in a question.
Go ahead.
And he's not saying based on any argument that you're providing, Sunflower. He's saying based on what Gavin says. If the majority of scientists are Christians, then why are there Christians denying what the science says?
If the majority of scientists,
it's really easy to understand.
And that goes to my point as well, is because you can't claim an intellectual high ground for an over-encompassing group when you're only talking about a small portion of that group.
And that's a good point.
Well, wait a second. Yes, I can, because it's conducive towards science more in general, whether or not, like, what do you mean?
Well, what I'm saying is Jay asked you, how do you win it? But Jay asked
I know we have a lot more people in this room, and it'd be interesting to move this book on.
But here's the thing. He's asking you, how do you deal with that problem, though, that there are Christians that believe the fringe ideas that Jay brought up?
You don't have to deal with it.
What
do you mean deal with it?
Actually, most Christians believe that evolution is true. So,
and that is
he's just in a small group.
I'm going to interject here and say that Sunflower isn't here to talk about the actual arguments made. He's here to defend the absolute atrocity of Gavin's performance.
No,
he is not. You are not here addressing the point. The point that
you guys haven't made a coherent point.
We were addressing the claims of Gavin, right? But,
I think
we are going to move on because
I've asked
you're
you
a
to
bit triggered
restate
right
and
now,
re-clarify like 10 times, and you guys just.
Sunrise, you're making this about you and me, and it wasn't about you and me. It was about if it was a hypothetical about if how the conversation could have gone a different way based on this claim made by Gavin. That's it in a nutshell. It's not about you and me. The conversation, the debate never went there, but I thought it would be interesting to take it that way to see how Gavin would respond. Now we're seeing how you would respond, which is funny, but we're not talking about you and me. This is about Knock and Gavin's debate. We can move on to something else.
Ask me a question and I'll answer it. I guess that's the best I can do.
Well, and here's the thing, though. Knock said, let's move off of this for a minute. There's so many other people in the room. And one person I want to throw it to, because he shows up usually at the last minute of open rooms. But here he is at the beginning. I want to... Antagelo, did you watch the debate?
No, I didn't. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, then let me set you aside for a minute here, and we'll get back to you. Leophilius, did you see the debate?
Yes. Can I get like a minute to a minute and a half?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Go for it, man.
And I'm going to kind of go down the line here. In terms of Christianity in the United States, this is from an article from the Pew Research Center, which is very, very reputable, one of the most reputable polling places, I guess you could say, that does a lot of statistics like this.
Yeah, I got a lot of my stats from them.
Yeah, an article from October 17th, 2019. So this is roughly a year old. And this was from telephone surveys conducted through 2018 and 2019, 65% of American adults describe themselves as Christians when asked about their religion, which is down 12 percentage points over the past decade. Meanwhile, the religiously unaffiliated share of the population, consisting of people who describe their religious identity as atheist, agnostic, or nothing in particular, now stands at 26%, up from 17% in 2009. So that's an almost 10% increase in 10 years. Both Protestantism and Catholicism are experiencing losses of population share. Currently, 43% of U.S. adults identify with Protestantism, down from 51% in 2009. That's what is that, an 8% drop. And 1 in 5 adults, 20%, are Catholic, down from 23% in 2009. So religiosity is objectively on the decline in the United States, and Protestantism is on the decline faster than Catholicism, which makes sense because Catholicism is generally
Well, yeah. Real quick, Leo.
Go ahead.
Real quick, Leo, and I'll let you get back to your time. And I made that point. Like, yes, across the board, not just in the United States, but in Western secular civilization, religion is down the board. Where it's rising are in third world countries where rich theists are going and promoting this very evangelical, literal interpretation of theology to these people in these third world countries. Uganda being a perfect example of the national prayer breakfast of this country, that lobby going to Uganda and trying to enforce very severe and harsh laws against gay people. So yes, please continue, Leo.
And this one is from Pew Research, April 7th, 2017, and they talk about that religiosity globally is on the decline, but this is not because people are joining religions. Religiosity is increasing, but the population of the planet is increasing at a larger rate, and religion is still generally more popular. So that's the disconnect there, and I can cite the link for that. So they are saying that religiosity will go down, but that's not because people are leaving or joining religions. It's due to the differences in how fast non-religious affiliation is growing, measured against how fast the human population is growing. Now for religious and crime rates. Now, and this unfortunately is a fact that religious practice generally has a negative effect on crime rates. However, this is generally for mainly property crimes and things like homicide and suicide. When it comes to other types of crimes, we can look at countries like Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Sudan, other countries like that where
Islam.
These are highly real, but it doesn't matter what type of religion
it does.
In fact, no, it doesn't. Because we're not talking about the types of religion, we're talking about religiosity. So you would just be committing a fallacy there. So those are very, very, very deeply religious countries, and they often take serious stances against being non-religious to the point of letting their citizens just kill people. And I have two sources.
That's called Islam.
As it relates to scientists and belief from November 5th, 2009, from the Pew Research Center, they say, where are we at here? A survey of scientists who are members of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, conducted by the Pew Research Center for the People and the Press in May and June 2009, finds that members of this group are, on the whole, much less religious than the general public. Indeed, the survey shows that scientists are roughly half as likely as the general public to believe in God or a higher power. According to the poll, just over half of scientists, 51%, believe in some form of deity or higher power. Specifically, 33% of scientists say they believe in God, while 18% believe in a universal spirit or higher power. So it is also an objective fact that religiosity is lower among scientists. And back to the religion and crime, you can say, well, that's Islam, which is still a religion. You are committing a fallacy by trying to target on specifically Islam when it's not about what type of religion. It's about, is there a religion at all?
Breathe, Carol Ann, breathe.
Let me respond to that.
That was brilliant.
Let me respond to that, please. I would love to. Okay.
And Sunflower, I got to tell you, we can't wait to hear your response to those facts that Leo just laid down.
Yeah, I would love to.
But I mean, we have so many other people. We need to let other people speak.
Well,
so
matter of fact, that's
brief,
a good idea.
please.
Let's let Untituled respond to Leo, since he's the only other Christian.
Well, John, we can let Sunflower respond, but just please make it brief so we can get to some other people.
Yeah, I'll make it brief. So atheism is not specifically directed towards certain problematic religions. It's directed. It's atheism is a overarching, just anti-God position. Period. So atheism isn't necessarily a lack of disbelief in God.
Well, you said anti-God.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Now you're
lack of a belief in God, right? So, like, if there's one really bad religion that's doing harm and a bunch of good religions that's not doing harm,
one really bad. What did you say?
religion.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So like, imagine a world where, like, let's put it like this, like, having a father raising.
I think saying
No,
one religion doing
let me make
harm
my
is
point.
false.
Let me make my point.
I think many religions do harm.
All right,
Yeah.
let me make my point. Let me make my point. Okay, so a child being raised with a father and a mother in the household is good, right? Now, let's just say you find a case where there's a lot of abusive, alcoholic fathers. Like, does that make fathers bad? No, that makes abusive fathers bad. So it's still better to have a father and a mother in a household than having no father and just a mother. And the fact that there's a lot of cases of abusive fathers does not disprove that having a father and a mother is good. Okay, so you can point towards abusive fathers. You can point towards problematic religions. I'm not saying there aren't any, but that doesn't the atheist is not anti-problematic theist. It's anti-all theist. It's anti-all God belief. And
sure, but
so
the debate
Yeah,
was
that's
about
just a false
Christianity.
analogy fallacy, because fathers is not the same thing as religion.
I don't get.
Wait. What fallacy was that?
False
analogy.
analogy fallacy. You're making an analogy that just does not work. It's literally comparing
terrible.
apples to oranges.
It's not, what do you mean? It's not a metaphor. It's
Because
an
all
analogy.
religions do have
An
violence,
analogy, that's
whereas
terrible.
not all fathers do. So you are literally comparing apples to oranges.
Wait.
I don't even.
I want to
fucking
hear.
know.
No. I need to hear again. What's your objection?
That your analogy doesn't work. It's comparing apples to oranges. It's a false analogy fallacy.
How?
Because we can demonstrate all religions engage in violence. We can't demonstrate that all fathers engage in
We
violence.
can demonstrate all
You are
human
not
civilizations engage in violence.
That you are exactly correct, because
So it's
Wait.
not religion doing it.
That's,
It's
again,
humans
not-
doing it.
No.
You can also
This is
see that in
important. This is
countries
important.
like Canada and in Sweden
This is
United
very
Kingdom
important.
that are much more
No.
civilized, even though they have
Violence
religion.
existed
There's not a lot
before
of
religion. No, violence
No.
existed before religion.
Yes, and religion also
Religion
amplified
did not introduce violence to the world.
it. No, but it did amplify it.
Not only did it not amplify it, it caused
Oh,
more.
it did amplify it.
No.
Literally.
There's
So
been
wait a
more-
minute.
More
Are-
advancement and
you-
more peace under religious times than non-religious
Wait a
times.
minute. So
You're
the
a
whole.
doctor.
Wait a minute. Wait a
You know
minute.
what ages were?
This discussion is about atheism versus Christianity, which is superior. You just gave argument after argument against fucking atheism. You just literally said violence existed before religion, or arguments against Christianity. You said violence existed before religion. You are not talking in the same conversation we are having here. Gavin made a lot of claims in this debate. Claims
Just because
that
I'm
I
right.
debunked.
Look, I know I'm right, and I know you're scared of the fact
You
that
know
I'm right.
you're right.
You're
You're-
not-
you
no,
know-
no,
You don't
no.
have to.
How are you
don't
going back
have
to
to
the
back
do we
I
need to go to till the
we're
time we
gonna
didn't
let
have
other-
religion?
Jesus
We're going to
is
let
laughing
other
at you,
people
Sunflower.
in this room speak about the topic of the stream, which is the debate that just happened, and maybe about
Gavin's
other.
not here right now. You invited me. I'm making
God.
points that you're not ready to contend with.
Holy crap!
Shit, the deflection is large.
I didn't invite you. John Peterson did, my man. This is my fucking channel. You will shut the fuck up when I tell you to shut the fuck up, or you won't come back in here. Are we understood? I hope so. Now, we are going to let other people have a say in the conversation. Please go, Mr. Parker. You've been trying to pipe in for a while.
Yeah. That debate, I joined in about 30 minutes in, and it was quite interesting because you're doing the cross-examination. And Gavin just kept saying nothing burger a lot, and he got me really hungry, and so I ate some Arby's. And, I was feeling hungry for a salad, so Gavin gave me a roid salad, and I was quite filled up with that. But I think Doc made some really good points about how Gavin would keep. He quite literally put the links to He gave the links to Smokey, but not everyone else before the debate, and it's quite ridiculous.
Gish
But
Gallop.
He actually said that he wasn't going to give Knock his all of his stuff until the debate.
that's a
So he did that on purpose.
But Knock was pretty reasonable. He wasn't, raging on Gavin. He was being quite reasonable, and
Yeah.
Smokey was being quite reasonable too. And it's quite fair debate. And Gavin just kept calling out Knock for saying he's interrupting or whatnot. And I mean, sure, he interrupted sometimes, but not as much as Gavin. Christ.
And I did interrupt once very disrespectfully, and I did it on purpose, but I had more disrespectful shit at hand, and I chose not to use it, so I feel good about that.
So, albeit that you didn't see the debate at Tangelo, do you have any comments on what we've talked about thus far? Kind of staying away from the topic that Sunflower was just talking about because it wasn't really on point. But
yeah, it's a little bit confusing. So I'm just listening to understand what the topic was at the debate, and if there springs up something that I can contribute in the conversation, then I can do so. But if there is some specific topic that you guys would like that I give a comment, then I can do it.
Okay, and just please, give me a shout and I forgot to mention too. That what we want to institute when we get a big room like this with so many people is I have the private chat up, the internal chat. So I'm not sure if this chat allows you to post emojis or not, but if you feel like you're not getting in and you want to get in on a specific topic, you want to comment on a specific point, and you don't feel like you're getting the chance to get in, go to the private chat and post a hand emoji. Or if the emojis don't work in the private chat, then just give me a shout. John, I want to get in or whatever. So I'm going to monitor the private chat because it often happens when we have this many people in the room that some people kind of get lost in the wash and don't ever get a chance to say anything. So let's start using the private chat, kind of like on Zoom. On Zoom, you can press raise your hand and a hand emoji comes up showing that you want to get into the conversation. So just go to the private chat, throw an emoji up with a hand, or and well, like Mr. Parker just did. He has figured out that there is not emojis in that private chat. So what he did is he put the word hand in there with an asterisk on either side of it. So that would probably be a good thing to do. If I see the word hand with a couple asterisks around it, then I'll know that you want to get in. But just throw it out there to everybody, like who has been trying to get in. I mean, Mr. Parker just threw his hand up, so I think he wants to finish his point. But whoever wants to go after Mr. Parker, just do that. Throw that hand up in the private chat. But go ahead, Mr. Parker.
Yeah, I was just doing that as an example, but there was something I forgot to mention. It was if simply looking at the links that Gavin gave, clearly some of them were not studies at all, really. I counted like 4 or 5, and I checked 2 of them, and they were quite Christian-based, I think. And then I looked up Pew. I looked up Pew population of nuns increasing, because that was quite a popular article I read. And it basically said there was a 0.5% increase from 2007 to 2014. And that was from the religious landscape they do every 7 years. So, I make a prediction like a good scientist would, and saying next year when they're doing the same religious landscape survey, that it's going to increase again.
And just real quick, somebody else was trying to get in here. We are full right now. There's 10 people, and we're limited to 10 people. So whoever that was just trying to get in, try a little later when somebody leaves. Well, somebody
we just lost Trevor.
Yeah, so come on in, whoever was trying to get in. Somebody, Red Fang, he threw his hand up. What's up, Red Fang?
Well, most of those are things that Gavin gave you were articles, not actual
Exactly.
statistics.
Yes.
And we me and Cerberus have been trying to point that out to him for
Yeah,
quite
Red
some
Fang,
time.
you literally debunked that fucking 30 country survey. I was even telling John, like, I don't think he's going to use it because Red Fang's Cerberus X debunked it right there for him, and then he fucking used it.
He's been using the same arguments for at least three months now, when he's brought this whole Christians are better than atheists thing. And one of those actually takes you to an Amazon site. So
I did want to add on to what you said that Gavin didn't really cite the data. He just said, "Well, I brought
that up earlier." Yep.
And it's just that's just a fallacy. I can't think of what it is, but
yeah,
I'm sorry, John.
Most of his stuff is just articles from Christian websites and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of them.
A lot of fallacies that night. Ad populums from Authority. What else did he do? What were some of the other ones? He did ad populum a lot. Authority with Richard Dawkins. Like, dude, it doesn't matter what Richard Dawkins said.
Richard Dawkins never said that.
I saw that. I was about to bring that up. Like, yeah, they're saying that Richard Dawkins never said that, and I'm like, well, I don't really have to because it's just laughable at this fucking point.
While I'm loath to do this, P. Mars did put his hand up, so go ahead, P. Mars. P. Mars.
Sorry. So I heard the part where
were you admiring yourself in the mirror?
Yeah. So I seen the part where Gavin said that, what did he say, something like Christianity was growing and atheism was dying in terms of popularity. And I thought right away off the top of my head that I study propaganda a lot, and from what I understand, like, people are being indoctrinated towards atheism and away from God. So like I didn't think that was true. And then
I don't understand.
What do you mean? Like, people have been indoctrinated towards God for centuries. All right, go ahead, Immutable. I'm sorry.
I don't understand how somebody's indoctrinated toward a state of non-belief. I really don't think like that there's like concentration camps or things like that are like forcing people like to reject.
Well, the education system in science.
What exactly?
People like Freud. People like Sigmund Freud, who are like pushing the idea that humans are just animals, and Darwin.
Psychology anymore.
So I'm confused. Like, when in classrooms, like this idea that humans like are just animals, and like this idea of like moral eviscerationism has been like commonly pressed in the education system. Because I am an educator, so
and I'm in it.
Yeah, Bertrand Russell said that education was the most influential form of modern propaganda. And that, like, you get a child young enough in school and you can convince them that snow is black, for example, and no amount of facts later presented to them later in life can change their mind.
We're conflating propaganda with indoctrination.
Yes.
So
no.
I don't understand. Like, propaganda is involved like in literally every aspect of human existence. Whereas indoctrination is something very specific and very particular to like religious affiliations and religious activity.
Welcome to P. Mars world.
Are you kidding me? There's 10 of us in here, and how do we have a moment of silence with 10 of us?
Don't know. I don't know how to address it. Prolific,
wrong.
Can you like cite a prolific source like that outright says like, oh yeah, we're like educating and like indoctrinating and forcing people
can't.
To lose their faith?
Well, that's not the problem.
No.
The problem is that science is based on philosophical materialism, and I think I think operational science is okay to use a scientific method.
So right off the gate,
I have videos. I have a lot of videos.
Finish.
I have a lot of videos about this topic on my. I have a lot of videos. Let me respond to him. Let me respond to him.
He didn't finish.
Let Otangelo finish.
I didn't get to respond. He asked me if I had a source, so my channel has got all this information about how science is being brainwashed and indoctrinated to move people away from God on my channel.
Yeah, but your channel.
Can I
P. Mars. Please listen to moderation. John Peterson wanted Otangelo to finish. Please finish, Otangelo.
In historical sciences, which have to do with evolution, with abiogenesis, paleontology, whatever, the inference that God is the best explanation is not permitted. God is excluded a priori by the claim that the supernatural cannot be investigated. I think that is okay in regards of operational science. When you investigate how something works, then it's okay that you just resort to natural explanations. But when it comes to origins, then every possible explanation should be put on the table and permitted to proposed as a possible or the best explanation. And that's
Should we put fairies on the table?
Wait,
Or
Leo,
leprechauns?
wait. Go ahead, Otangelo.
I thought he was done.
We do have a bit of an echo.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. So somebody needs to mute because they're echoing.
I thought he was done. We do have a bit of an echo.
Yeah, they do.
It's not Otangelo. It's not Otangelo.
No, it's not mine.
Anyway, so you said every
It was me. It was me. My bad.
okay, Cree. You said every explanation should be put on the table. So,
I-
for wildfires, we can put dragons as an explanation, right?
No. I said about historical science, where the question is how did things come to be. Then we have two options. One is natural explanations, and the other option is design. And design today in science is excluded a priori by the excuse that the supernatural cannot be investigated or cannot be scientific. And in my understanding, this is wrong because design is a possible explanation.
There is no evidence.
There's no precedent. There's no parallel precedent or verified phenomenon indicating that design is even possible. That possibility hasn't been established. We rule out design for the same reason we rule out fairies. So if you can give us a reason to think that fairies caused life, then great. But nobody can. There's no parallel precedent or verified phenomenon indicating that there's even a possibility.
For
the same reason we rule out anything supernatural. It's not a priori. It's that there is no precedent for it. It's never been
evidence in history cannot be verified because they are back in the past.
We did it again.
We do not have a time machine to go back and see.
Damn it, John!
Okay, hold on, Otangelo, by your own logic, then, the field of forensic science should not actually be a real form of science, right? Because we're not able to actually go back in time to see who exactly committed the murder or who stole from the bank, right? That's the type of logic that you're...
No. It is the same as to say you see a body laid on the ground with a bullet in the chest, and then the investigator comes and he wants to investigate the crime.
Yes.
And then someone with a certain interest will tell you, okay, you can give any explanation of the fact that the person has a bullet in the chest, but it cannot be a criminal. It cannot be someone with intelligence.
No, that is not.
So, Otangelo, let's go through a basic principle of science, and that is number one. Science is the investigation of the natural world, and thus we seek natural explanations.
And that's wrong. That's wrong.
No, it is not.
That's in his
every definition.
And who did make this framework? Do you know who made
it? You got to give him a chance to respond.
Yeah, let Immutable respond, and then you can go. And Nicholas is here. I'd like to say what's up to Nicholas eventually. So yeah, get at it.
And real quick, let me to the people who just joined. If you want to get in, put the word hand in the private chat or throw a hand up emoji like Red Fang did in the private chat.
And in the side chat, we are full now, so wait until somebody leaves and then try to come in.
Use that private chat, throw your hand up, we'll get to you. Go ahead, Immutable.
Otangelo, if you really are trying to counter that claim, I would encourage you, please find any scientific institution which disagrees with the claim that I just made, which is that science fundamentally, as a process, as an operational procedure, is a study of the natural world. Because what you are describing is a philosophical endeavor to try to explain, given a set of observed phenomena, so in this case, that there was at some point no life and at some point life, how do we best account for that?
All right, Atangelo, respond to that, and then we're going to go to Leophilius. Go ahead.
Okay,
Atangelo.
I said already that in regards of operational science, where the question is how does something work, that framework is okay. But when the question is how did things come to be in the past, then we need to put all the possible explanations on the table. And this today is not done because design is a possible explanation, but already a priori excluded with the excuse
Okay.
that the supernatural cannot be investigated. And that is a wrong framework.
Otangelo, can you please provide me a source other than creationist organizations that make the distinction between operational science and historical science?
I've never heard that either.
Because I have never, not once, from any scientist that is not directly affiliated with a creationist organization or otherwise intelligent design related, refer to a meaningful distinction between what you're calling operational science and what you're calling historical science.
Allow me. Allow me.
Hold on. No, stop. Everybody stop. We're going in the order it was in the. There's a lot of people that have their hand up, but here's the thing: when there's a one-on-one going, you have to let that go on a couple times. Let them go back and forth, and then we'll get you in. And I made a mistake. Mr. Parker actually threw his hand up way back before Leo did. So the next person is going to be Mr. Parker. Then it's going to be Leo. Then it's going to be Proclaimer. And then it's going to be Red Fang. So
and then
go
me,
ahead.
And then me.
John got this shit handled.
I don't see your hand up in the chat. But yeah, then you.
Come on, dude. I'm an OG.
Put your hand up.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying he might say, well, wait a minute. By verbalizing that his hand is up, he's now after Red Fang. He doesn't have to.
Okay.
All right. But at any rate, go ahead, Atangelo. Respond to what Immutable said, and then we'll start getting these other folks in.
There is literally an organization which deals exclusively with historical science. And in regards of historical science, there is here in Wikipedia, History of Science Society. And that is a secular organization, and it deals with all the sciences that have to do with origins, with things that have happened in the past, with archaeology, with paleontology, with abiogenesis, with evolution, with paleontology, with all these faculties that ask the questions, how did things come to be? And when you exclude a priori one of the possible explanations right away from the beginning, then the result is bad science, because then you have to press all explanations in one direction when eventually the evidence leads into another direction which has been excluded as a possible explanation a priori.
Well, so I understand that you're making an argument against science. I will just say, I tried to say this like a lot earlier. I'm kind of a different animal. I list everything as possibilities. So I actually look at the possibility of God being the creator, and I list that as like maybe a minute possibility. But I look at all of them, and I find the Christian God theory about creation to be the least plausible. That's my interjection. John, please start moderating again.
Okay. Yeah. And
can I answer, please?
What's that? Well, no, because we're going to start letting some other people get in here.
Yeah, I was totally just being rage for a moment.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Mr.
John.
Parker, I believe, was trying to get in because I think he had something to add to the discussion between you and Immutables. Go ahead, Mr. Parker.
Actually, Red Fang had his hand before me, so he can go.
No, you had your hand way up before everybody, like way back.
Yeah, Parker.
You even pointed out to me in a separate comment. I'm next. Like.
Go Parker.
Whatever. Okay then. So this whole entire idea of historical science versus a whatever stupid idea of science. I would like to ask the question of what about Pompeii? We can give historical documents of the destruction of Pompeii. Now, if we're going to put down all the science, we could say it was volcano, because it's the most likely thing that caused the destruction of Pompeii. Or if we want to do a historical science way and say all possibilities, then we could say it was a giant cloud of ash that came from a meteor strike from South America and came all the way. We have good scientific research and reasoning to believe a volcano destroyed Pompeii. We also have good scientific reason to believe about other things in the past. So it's just mind-boggling. Next person can go.
Yeah, Leo Filius, you're up next.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say is the history of Science Society. From their actual website, their Who We Are, the history of Science Society is the world's largest society dedicated to understanding science, technology, medicine, and their interactions with society and historical context. Over 3,000 individual and institutional members across the world support the society's mission, to foster interest in the history of science and its social and cultural relations. So this article is not trying to understand things as they happened in the past. It's literally just talking about how science has evolved throughout history. There's literally no such thing as historical science. There's only one science, and that's science. That's methodological empiricism. That is
I
the
can
method
give you right to lay a
hold
science
on here. I'm
paper
not
which
finished,
deals
please.
with that.
That is the method
Angelo.
that we use to understand the world. We can apply those past, present, and we can even apply them in the future with models that make predictions, like general relativity. And Mr. Parker brings up a good example. You're trying to say that when we look to the past and what caused things, we have to put everything on the table. There's no reason to think that the destruction of Pompeii was due to a dragon. There's
That's
no
not the
parallel
point.
precedent or verified phenomena indicating that dragons exist. And I have one question for you, Watangelo. Give me an example of a verified explanation accepted by the consensus of scientists that is non-natural. Just one.
Okay, that's entirely missing the point. The point is, even if it is a plausible explanation that design happened or not, the fact is that design is a possible explanation, and for that reason, it should not be put off the table right from the beginning of an investigation. All possible explanations should be permitted to be put on the table, to be investigated if they make sense, if they are sound or not. The fact that eventually design is not a plausible explanation, that's not the point. The point is that design is excluded as a possible explanation a priori.
No, it's not. It's excluded because
Of
it's
course
never
it is.
it's never explained.
So essentially, design is stupid, but we should consider it anyway.
I'd love to touch on this if you guys will let me
Or
talk.
the
Well, when it's your turn, you can touch on it.
Yeah, we got so many people and so
Yeah.
many. I still want to get to Nicholas. So
Well, right,
yeah,
Nicholas is next. Go ahead, Nick.
For the same reason we don't ever assume that a dragon destroyed Pompeii is the same reason that science doesn't assume that there are supernatural things, because that's never, not one time, and that's why you couldn't give me an example, has that ever been the case. There's no precedent for it. We know
You're missing the point again.
Earth is not orbiting the sun because of fairies, because there's no precedent for it. And I am understanding what you're saying. You're not understanding my response to you.
There's paradoxical natures to
Sunflower, stop.
things. Okay,
Go
but
ahead,
it-
Nicholas.
it-
Sunflower.
Disclaimer of
it's
Messiah is next.
Sunflower. it's not
Nick, your
turn.
hand is. Go ahead, Nick.
and please say whatever you want. It doesn't have to be on topic. Come in, say what you came in to say, Nicholas, please.
Yeah, the main thing I'd like to say is very controversial at you, Rage, in that I would like to give a very brief summary of what I think you did wrong for the debate.
Please.
And
Please go.
that summary is that, for Gavin to be prepared to debate the existence of God, he should have known that that was the topic you chose. But you said you chose a different topic. And I perceive that as an attempt at a sneak attack. But when Gavin asked you if you agree that you can't prove God does not exist, you said yes, and he pretty much neutralized your entire sneak attack, and it turned out just to be a big blunder.
Well,
Okay,
no.
good.
So
Wait.
when I said that I can't prove that God exists, I was speaking in a very general term and not in any humanistic terms. I quite clearly said that I do not believe any human interpretation of what God is. So you're saying that I tried to make this debate about the existence of God, and I did not. I used the existence of God as a way to attack the worldview that Gavin was putting forward as a superior worldview to my own. That worldview not being atheism, but secular humanism and naturalism. Atheism simply being an answer to a question about a belief. And by the definition of superior that Gavin provided me, I determined that atheism could fall within that line of debate. And I pointed that out first thing in my opening statement.
And real quick, before you go, Nick, I'm going to take moderator purview. I just want to jump in real quick on your claim there. Okay. How can you have a debate about which one is superior without touching on if there's actually any evidence for that worldview? And how can you do it like Gavin also called Knockout for bringing up morality? How can you talk about which one is superior without touching on whether it's true or not and talking about morality?
Okay. So, actually, it might have been better if you waited just because I'm not keeping track of everything that's on my plate. So, in response to you, Knock, I stand corrected, Knock, because your use of the definition and arguing it that way based on that is correct. So I don't think you attempted a sneak attack. You corrected me on that. But at the same time, I think it was a mistake. I think you could have done better if you argued that God was a moral monster is your main point instead of that he doesn't exist. And to answer your question, John, there are other debates that often happen about whether or not God exists. So that's what covers that whole base. So the audience gets to be the judge. So to try to make this debate about that was like the wrong time for it.
No, well, Nicholas, and I pointed this out. Like, I thought fairly obviously, and me and Gavin had a back and forth about this. My arguments weren't that God doesn't exist. That was kind of implied based upon my argumentation, maybe. My arguments were arguments of evil and arguments of absence, not that God doesn't exist. It was actually Gavin. If you go back and watch the debate, it was actually Gavin that kept going back to the fact that he thought I was arguing that God doesn't exist when I was actually presenting different arguments. So he was the one that continually brought the existence of God into question. I'm not going to say I never did. As I said, it is implied by my argumentation. But again, I'm attacking the worldview of Christianity and whether or not it is superior to simply answering the question no.
And real quick, because the fact of the matter is talking about God's absence, talking about divine hiddenness does not necessarily entail God does not exist. It's just saying, why is God hiding from us? Why does God not intervene when these horrible things happen?
Yeah, I'll say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of thought you were done. I didn't mean to interrupt. So, yeah, my response to that basically, or I'll tell you guys why I saw it the way I did, because the second half of that definition in your intro, Knock, you focused on the second half of the definition, and you said that if God. That the true view is the likely one. And so it seemed like those arguments were being used as arguments that God is not true. Now, I do see how if you could have gotten the moral argument better, whether God is true or not, the points that go into the moral argument could also go directly into this debate. So it could have integrated pretty well. So, yeah, and I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but I thought you were plenty cordial and all that, aside from when you said the stapler thing, but then you apologized, so that was fine too. Wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I was being a dick at that point.
And then,
yeah.
so
and Gavin is like hard to deal with like that and stuff. So,
True.
yeah, I mean, I'll speak fairly on that, but I do think what he said about it being a nothing burger, even if he kind of cheaped you out of being able to present your real burger, that is still kind of what happened in my assessment.
Well, I think that Gavin chose a bad debate, and people were trepidatious about me entering into the debate as it was named. But Gavin went out of his way to define superior and then to not supply the citation that he went out of his way throughout the entire debate to try to pretend like he supplied. So I felt like Gavin made a huge mistake by going on Praise's channel and laying out exactly what he was going to talk about. And John Peterson told me earlier today, he's like, dude, I hope you're not like going in that thinking that he's going to talk about that. And I was about 80% to 20% that he would in fact talk about that because I just don't respect his intelligence. and he did.
Well,
and he talked about that 30 country study, which Cerberus Hex had already just completely debunked, and he still used it anyway.
Well,
he is not willing to look at the information. He is only willing to give his talking points.
John, if you don't mind, it's getting a little much for me when it's both of you on
I'm
each
not
round.
going to ask you anything. I just want to comment on what Nock just said.
Okay.
Conspiracy theorist that I am, I had advised Nock of that thinking that maybe they went live to do Gavin's debate prep to throw Nock off on what he was going to actually talk about.
No.
As it turned out, Gavin went live with debate prep and gave away his game plan.
Well, John.
Yeah, no,
Gavin's been practicing this.
That's not how we're
debate thing
doing it, is
going
it?
for at least a week now.
Red Fang, you're next.
Yeah, because with 10 people, it's just too much for people to be allowed to do that. John's doing a good job here moderating.
So, if you're done, Red Fang.
I just want to wrap up real quick.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. I just want to say, after Nick wraps up, we're going to go to Red Fang and then Sunflowers after Red Fang. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, because the truth is on our side and the argument's strong. So we would rather you guys know the argument and come at us as strong as you can. So it was courage. It wasn't stupidity. It was confidence.
Okay. Go ahead, Red.
Maybe, but it was overconfidence because I used it against him.
Yeah, you didn't do very well, but I'm going to take off. I just wanted to share and stuff. I'm hanging out over there.
Actually, I really did. And we're going to have a lot of fun going through all those links. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you beat him like Trump beat Biden.
Oh, that did open up a big can of worms.
Trump got his ass beat by Biden.
Okay, so anyway, Red, thank you so much, Nicholas, for stopping.
Hey, Nicholas, I do appreciate, and I do. I'm sorry. I just want to say I do appreciate the honest criticism. I appreciate you coming on and being honest. I do appreciate your take. I will come back and listen to it and consider it more. And yeah. Just because I'm here doing a show doesn't mean I'm not going to consider your criticisms. I usually consider all criticisms of myself. So
yeah, it sounds like you will. And you gave me a lot of food for thought on the things I said too. So this was a good exchange. I really appreciate it. And I just want to hang out with my friends. Otherwise, I'd be glad to hang out here. So I mean, I have friends here too, but you guys know what I mean.
Nicholas, would you be open, Nicholas, to coming on and maybe doing like a one-on-one with Doc?
Oh yeah. I was supposed to email him a while back, and I've been kind of trepidatious.
Well, I'm a little bit on hiatus at the moment, so maybe just in a few weeks here would be really a good time or something. But we're definitely going to do that someday.
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready, my man. We'll make it happen.
Okay, cool. I don't know if I have your email yet. If you email me, then I can email you when
I will. I will. I do have your email, and I will send you that email.
Okay, so goodbye, all. Just trust Messiah.
All right, thanks, Nick. Red Fang, was there? You had your hand up next. Go ahead, and we'll go to Sunflower.
Well, shoot. Let's see. Well, Gavin's been using the same arguments he's been using with Nock during the debate for at least 3 months. He's had at least 4 debates now over the same argument, and he never learned to look up these studies and actually prove his side was true, which it's such a dumb debate, especially with Gavin. He doesn't know how to look up information. He doesn't know how to look up the facts. So yeah, and on to Angelo. How can you tell that it's your God that did all this stuff when there are thousands of other gods on this world?
Well, the teleological argument doesn't point specifically to the biblical God, despite I have a video on my channel in regards of the Kalam cosmological argument and
which
the cause.
Both of its premises.
And can I finish? And the cause has the qualities and needs to have the qualities which are precisely parallel and as described in the Bible. So I would say that the collab does not only lead to a cause, to an unspecific cause, but to the God of the Bible.
So they pulled up information that drew them toward their God. So you believe the fairy tales that your God is real.
Well, that's not what I said. I said that the cause of the universe must have qualities which are precisely described in the Bible, that the God of the Bible has these qualities. So there are parallels
What
to this. So that's why I think that the Kalam leads to the God of the Bible.
what qualities were shown how the universe is made? Since no scientists have found out how the universe was ever made, but somehow your fairy tale book tells you so.
Well, first of all, science, the majority of scientists like Hawking, Einstein, Vimenkin, Penzias, Jastrow, Krauss.
Leo,
and
you
so
got to
on,
put your hand up in the chat.
I did.
They
Me, Immutable, and then Parker.
Can I continue?
Yeah,
Yeah,
talking
please do. I just had to take care of some business. Go ahead.
Okay, so the I think the consensus view is that the universe had the beginning with the Big Bang. So if it had a beginning, then it must have had a cause, and then we can ask what that cause would have had to be. And I would say it has to be supernatural, uncaused, omnipresent, changeless, timeless, immaterial, spaceless, personal, enormously powerful, necessary, independent, diverse yet unified, intelligent, and purposeful. And if you check the description of the God of the Bible, it matches precisely with all these characteristics.
Okay, let's go to Sunflower, who's been waiting. We probably are 1,000 miles past whatever point he was trying to get in on.
No, I'm right here. Thank you so much for giving me a platform. So I've waited patiently, and I'd like to just make a point. So I'm gonna invoke something here that I think probably a lot of people here, or at least I think some people here, are probably already aware of. And that is that the intelligent design argument does not necessarily invoke the supernatural. So let's think about ourselves as an intelligent species right now. Let's say
extraterrestrials.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Yeah. So
yes, that could be, but then you would have to ask what made these extraterrestrials.
Let me flesh this out.
Here, let me just say, it's the Sunflower has the floor. If you want to respond to him, you have to put your hand up in the private chat. And as we stand right now, Sunflower has the floor. Then we're going to P Mars. Then we're going to Leophilius, and then we're going to Immutable Destiny. So go ahead, Sunflower.
Thank you. Okay, so we already I think we all here acknowledge that the human species is an intelligent species. Let's say we look at prospective, maybe Earth-like planet. We discover one. We see that the early life conditions, or the early planet conditions are sufficient to the Miller-Urey experiment, and that we can think, wow, what if we just kind of impart a brief electric current right in this one spot, and what if we just, it looks like it could happen over a long time, but what if we just give it a little nudge, right, as humans, and we do this little nudge, we impart electric current maybe in a little confined area, and we sort of set the ball in motion for amino acids and RNA and so on and so forth. Now, let's say immediately after humans do that, the Earth explodes, humans are wiped out, boom. Now, okay, billions of years go by, and this bacteria evolves, and then eventually a humanoid-like species is sort of viewing their own history, and they go, oh, what happened 12 billion years ago when life formed? Well, they would never know that an ancient species kind of nudged them with a shock electricity or some sort of imparting action. So they would have to just say, there's no evidence of that, so we would have to assume it happens naturally. I think this is what is being lost on some of the atheists. Now, it's not necessarily true that there was an intelligent designer or species or whatever that sort of like nudged or imparted something, but it's a possibility. Okay, so this is an important point. Why are we counting out a naturalistic possibility of intelligent design? That's just strange.
Oh, you know what? I have to respond to this because I got and Sunflower. I agree with you on that point so much because I've said for a long time, okay, yes, you can't rule out design because what if it was like just some superior race that seeded the planet? You know what I mean? I mean,
right.
So when you talk about intelligent design, you might not even necessarily be talking about it has to be a supernatural being.
Exactly.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't rule out any of the possibilities. I think Richard Matson's.
Well, wait, let me finish.
What Richard puts forward about Christianity is actually a lot more logical than what a lot of Christians put forward.
Yeah, go ahead.
So where I'm going from here is that why are we so opposed to a naturalistic, even atheist? It could even be atheistic. You could have atheistic intelligent design for life on Earth, right? Why do we have a knee-jerk reaction to that? No, it can't. Like, well, okay, this is where I start to raise eyebrows. Okay, if you're so opposed, and I'm not calling out anyone in this chat. I'm just saying, like, if one is so opposed to the intelligent design argument altogether, even in situations where it's compatible with atheism, and it could have just been a previous intelligent life form that kind of set the ball in motion or nudged things in motion. There's no good reason to count that out.
Right. I mean, you shouldn't count it out, but like, because I've said before, hey, our universe could just be a jar of sea monkeys on some, superior intelligence's shelf in their bedroom or something. But you're right. It shouldn't be just ruled out as Tangela put it, a priori. But the fact of the matter is, but then you have to talk about explanatory power of different explanations. And when it comes to that explanation, it has very little explanatory power. And as Leo Filius, wait. And as Leo Filius pointed out a long time ago, that there is no, scientists don't claim to know how it all began. I mean, so.
Well, hey, goddamn it, John!
Let me respond to this.
Well, real quick, I just want to tell John, I totally forgot to include the explanatory power shit. I apologize, my dude. I meant to.
Time.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Sunflower. But it is also.
You're gonna have to wrap it up. We got a lot
I did not raise my hand in side chats. I'm not. I don't even look at the private chat.
Yeah, he owns the channel. He owns the channel. He doesn't have to raise his hand. But go ahead, Sunflower, finish and please wrap it up as quick as you can.
I'll be very quick. I'll be very quick. Okay, so explanatory power. Explanatory power is not a tenet of the scientific method, right?
Yes, it is.
Hold on. Let me clarify that. We do the best we can with the information available to us, but we don't make like metaphysical claims. So we understand that as a human species, we could do this to another planet, right? We could kind of like say, oh, we're humans, we're smart. Let's just shoot some bacterial DNA into Venus, and then also like shoot an electric current into the little pond, and then Earth blows up and no one's there. Okay. Now look, in 12 billion years, Venus will look back and say, we have no reason to believe that intelligence did that. Well, they're wrong then. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying it's true or axiomatic or like you guys are wrong in that it has to be intelligent design. But if you're operating from a perspective where that's already ruled out from the get-go, you're missing something even from a naturalistic perspective. And why? Why? Even if we're purely naturalistic, why would we rule out that an intelligence 3.5 billion years ago could have tilted or manipulated things on Earth to lead to life. That's not even a supernatural claim. So why are we so afraid of that? Why are we like?
Well, I mean, because the reason is, and I'm gonna have to cut you off there so far because we got to get some other people in here. But
I'm done. Go ahead. I'm done.
Yeah. But the thing is that, like I said, I agree with your point because I said that years ago. But the thing is when you make the point you did, it's because most religious people, most Christians will take that point you just made and they're pointing to a supernatural cause. They're not saying it was some superior intelligence. It was another being like us that it was a naturalistic explanation. They're saying it was a supernatural explanation. But the next person in order was P. Mars. Go ahead, P. Mars. You've been waiting a long time.
I was gonna say that I'm a Christian deist, so I don't know if people would consider me Christian, but I think hierarchy is immoral. So like the whole topic of the debate, I don't like the idea of I don't think Christians should really have the viewpoint that they're superior, I suppose, to other people. Because if
I agree with that, P. Mars. Judge not, lest you should be judged. That was kind of like, I didn't say it, but that was my point. By sitting here in judgment of atheism, you lessen yourself as a Christian.
Yeah, that's kind of an issue I have with praise or like those people that say stuff like that. I don't think it's right. Like in the Bible, Paul mentions that if Gentiles do with like the right thing, even if they don't understand like God's word or whatever, that but if in their heart they just do what's right and they're moral, that they are saved. So I just think it's wrong for them to act like, I mean, I think technically an atheist could be saved if they lived a moral life according to what Paul said in the Bible. So it's like wrong for them to act like they're superior to other people just because they have this worldview. They're like, they're making their worldview their God instead of God, their God. So that's all I want to say.
It's because Gavin's a
agree.
military Christian.
Yeah.
Well, no, I agree. There was an example I didn't use in the debate, but I was going to, and it was the example of the Good Samaritan. So Jesus speaks of this Good Samaritan, this person from Samaria that did very good deeds, helped out this person in need, right? So Jesus spoke of this Good Samaritan, this man that had morality, but there is no way possible that man was Christian. He did not derive his morality from Christianity, and those are the words of Jesus himself. But please, whoever's next, go ahead.
Okay, so I just have to recognize how calmly this gentleman has sat there waiting, because usually he is very passionate and wants to get in and can't contain himself. So go ahead, Leo. You've been a very good boy waiting.
Leo's passion is what I love most about Leo.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to be able to fully parse out why the Kalam cosmological fails in both of its premises because I don't have enough time. But the two things that I wanted to touch on that Otangelo said. Number one, the consensus of cosmologists is we don't know. I've literally actually sat down with PhD astrophysicists and cosmologists and asked them that. Do they think that the universe has a beginning? Yes. Did it ontologically begin to exist? No, because time is tenseless. The whole universe already exists as one block, and it's bounded at one end, most likely. So that is the consensus. And Hawking, Vilenkin, Sean Carroll, Katie Mack, Ethan Siegel have all expressed this. Leonard Susskind, Max Tegmark, all of these people have expressed exactly that. We know for a fact that time is tenseless. Secondly, you said that this argument leads to some characteristics of God. So just quick yes or no questions. Is one of those characteristics, Otangelo, spacelessness?
He transcends space and
so he's not in
reality.
Space. He's not in space.
No,
okay.
He is spirit. Yeah, he transcends
so
space.
He's spaceless. Great. Is timelessness or atemporality another one of those?
I think he was not in time, beyond the universe.
So you take the view that William Lane Craig.
Can I finish? Yes, I have the view of Craig.
The third question is God immaterial?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a being that is spaceless, timeless, and immaterial. That's a being that doesn't exist anywhere, does not exist for any amount of time, and isn't made of anything. That's non-existence, buddy. And
That's
there is no
not what I
such thing
said.
as beyond space-time. That phrase
You
is
just
as
strawmanning
coherent
me.
as
You
saying
did
north
just-
of the North
You
Pole.
did just strawman what I said. Lee.
No, I didn't. You actually agreed with every
No,
single one of those
Craig
points.
said that God is in time with the universe. When he created the universe, he entered time. That's the position of Craig,
That
which I
doesn't work because
adhere to.
relativity of simultaneity, which is why Dr.
Well-
Craig rejects
well-
Einsteinian relativity, because he knows that destroys his view. But we already know, because of relativity of simultaneity, that God cannot enter into time perfectly simultaneous with his creation of it. So that just doesn't work. It's either God is timeless or God is in time. It's only one of those. It can't be both.
Otangelo, meet Leo.
Yeah, and Otangelo, and as far as who's next, we got Immutable, Mr. Parker, then Otangelo for a pointy one. But Otangelo gets to respond right now to Leo Phileas. Go ahead, Otangelo.
Well, it depends if you adhere to the A hypothesis of time or B hypothesis of time, and of course, if you stick to your block time, then you think
we
you have
know
a
that
case.
time
I
is
don't
tenseless.
agree with
That's
it.
that's not up for debate. Time is tenseless. That is an objective fact of reality, and I can demonstrate how it's true right now if you'd like me to. Would you like me to?
That's
Go ahead.
called a boom moment right there.
The way that we do it is with something called Muon Decay. Muons are just it's essentially an electron with more mass. It's a heavier cousin of the electron, is sort of a colloquial way of putting that. Since they're literally the same particle, they all decay at the same rate, unless they start traveling at what are called relativistic speeds, or speeds approaching that of the speed of light, generally 90% the speed of light or higher. Those ones will decay more slowly than muons that are not traveling at relativistic speeds. That can only be explained if time is tenseless due to an effect called time dilation, which we have already mathematically demonstrated is an inherent aspect of reality. Time is tenseless. That is an objective fact of reality.
Otangelo?
Well, try to explain it next time as you would speak to a 6-year-old which has no clue about what you're talking about. Then I will understand.
I can do that right now. The clocks on
is
the
obvious.
satellites orbiting the Earth are ticking faster than clocks on Earth because of gravity slowing down time. This is an effect we actually measure. If time were tensed, that means that the right now is right now for every point in the universe, which means those clocks would not be ticking faster.
Leo,
they
we just had we totally just had an admission of defeat. You just did. I'm gonna have to cut this out and put it on its own. God damn it! I got to do work.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just like Leo said.
Well,
There are
Hold
more.
on,
Well, Leo, I'm not.
Hold on, both of you. Okay. We could go on this topic, but we have a lot of other people that want to get in. And I just want to point out my friend Leo did have a boom moment there. And I'd like to put the two of you together to where he could maybe break it down into simpler terms, and you two could have a discussion about it, because it sounds to me like, Otangelo, like you're more than willing to take on new ideas. So I think that would be a good thing to do, like in a separate, little stream or something, to put the two of you together. Because the fact of the matter is, like you said, there have been Earth-based experiments where you can, because the idea that when you move at the speed of light, the time is going to go at a different rate. We've proven that because just above the Earth, it happens. Mm-hmm. So
demonstrating the tenselessness of time.
And
right now for us is not right now for the satellites.
Right. And so we're going to go from one big brain to the next. Immutable, you're up.
Yeah. So to be less physical about the hand, about what Leo just did. The simple explanation is this: muons, one of the properties they have is that their half-life is such that if they were falling at a normal speed, so not close to the speed of light, they would decay, like entering Earth's atmosphere, before they would have time to be detected by particles. So we would not be able to observe them. However, due to relativity, when particles start moving near the speed of light, the time like they experience is different than the time we experience. And one of the consequences of that is that the distance physically that they travel is shorter, is actually lessened. And that's one of the
Moving
reasons
more
we
in
observe
time and
muon
less in
particles.
space.
Yeah. That's the simple explanation for what he was giving. And
if
find
anybody wants, I can put the equation for time dilation in the side chat. We've mathematically proven it happens.
And I find it ironic that somebody who's trying to argue about the Coulomb cosmological argument, which rests upon causality as one of its fundamental tenets, which we know to be incorrect because of quantum mechanics, that doesn't also understand one of the most fundamental theories regarding time, is trying to assert the Coulomb as being true.
Yeah. So next up was Mr. Parker.
Yeah, just piggybacking on what Leo and Immutable were talking about. There's a great video about muons and their physics when hitting the Earth. It's channeled by Minute Physics, and it's quite simplistic, really easy to understand, and explains how like Einstein's ideas apply to that.
Mm-hmm.
We have moved quite far from where I put my hand up about the theological whatever dilemmas and whatnot. But
sorry,
it's fine. But yeah, you guys bring up a good point about how these broad like Antonio, I can't speak English really good. He tries to say, well, dumb that down for a sixth grader. Well, I'm not gonna dumb down pre-cal for a sixth grader because pre-cal is for high schoolers. If we're gonna talk about high-level physics, we're gonna have to talk like high-level physicists. So me giving you a simplistic idea of what quantum mechanics is to a sixth grader is not going to give the best conclusion, which is how I would describe most of the arguments by apologists like William Lane Craig, is that he gives this really dumbed down idea of what physics is and what reality actually is. And I would strongly advise people to look into the prepositions and like the premises and what they actually hold to be true that actually are scientifically false.
Just for clarification, William Lane Craig is the guy that says Albert Einstein is wrong on both theories of relativity that Albert Einstein developed.
Yeah. And then so Otangelo, you got to have a little back and forth there with Leo, but you had your hand up a while ago, and you were next as far as the hands go. Was there another? When you threw your hand up, was there something else that you wanted to get to?
No, I would just like to say that I'm open to understand better what you're saying, Leo. You can send me even some links, and you have my email. I'm open to investigate what you're saying. I'm not an expert. You study this stuff more than I do. So if you have a point, I have absolutely no problem to acknowledge it.
I would recommend looking up what the Lorentz transformations are and what they tell us about what happens when things move quickly in space-time. I can actually give a really intuitive explanation of it with just my arm.
Well, Leo, I have always had difficulty to understand the relativity of Einstein, this kind of stuff. I'm very bad in math as well, so I'm not.
Do you know what a vector is?
Huh?
Do you know what a vector is?
No, I don't.
A line with an arrow. So it's got two values. A vector is an immutable. Forgive me because I'm going to kind of make this really simplistic. A vector is a line in a coordinate space with two values. The length of that line, which is called the magnitude of that line, which is going to say length, and then the arrow at it, the direction in which the line is going. So those are your two values. Let's say my arm is a vector. In special relativity, when something starts to move very close to the speed of light, we're going to have this axis be space and this axis be time. So if you accelerate something to 1,000 miles an hour, this vector is going to represent that object. It's not going to change much. But if you go 100,000 miles an hour, it's going to slightly go like that. If you're going 100,000 miles per second, it's going to be like that. So if this axis is time, what we see is that shrinking. It moves slower in time, faster in space. So that if something is moving at the speed of light, what you see is it would be perfectly horizontal. It doesn't move at all in time. It's only moving in space. And that's why when things move at the speed of light, they experience zero time. There is no passage of time. So the faster something goes, the more horizontal that line gets. The less it moves in time, but the more it moves in space.
Like if we were able to actually move at the speed of light, then all those things that you've seen in science fiction movies would be true. You would go out into the universe at the speed of light, and by the time you got back to where you started from, every person you ever knew would have long been dead.
Yeah.
I just want to say, real quick, I just want to say Otangelo is not alone. I don't understand math. What Leo just said made a lot of sense to me, but I still am kind of like, all right, maybe I understand, but maybe I don't. But I'm not somebody that calls into shows to contest the science of things either. I don't understand math though, so Otangelo, you are not alone in this room, because I freely admit that.
Well, I have no problem to admit when I don't understand something, and I'm not good in math, and there are many things in astrophysics that I don't understand. So I have no problem to admit it. Now, you have said something, Leo, which I did read something about it, because I had a lot of problems to understand the starlight problem, how the universe could be only 6,000 years old if the starlight takes billions of years to reach the Earth. And there was something like time dilation and something like that, which would explain how it could be that the starlight would take only 6,000 years to reach us. So I have read something in that direction of what you explained right now. But as I said, if you send me some information, it should be layman information, then I would be interested to read it and try to...
The time dilation of light would be for the photons, but not for us. Because they're the ones traveling at those speeds, not us. So when we look out and we can see they're almost 14 billion years using light, that is, we can see much further out using methods other than light, like gravity and stuff like that. Actually, no, not gravity, because I think gravity still travels at the speed of light, because the speed of light is really the speed of communication in space-time. Nothing can move faster than that, not even information. And so we know that when we look at the center of the Milky Way galaxy, that it's 27,000 light years away. Like that's just the way it is. We know that the Milky Way galaxy is 200,000 light years across. We also know how old the Earth is, not just from light, but from dating objects on the Earth and dating samples from the moon. And they comport with each other, which should not be the case. The Earth is only 6,000 years old.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Leo. And for one, my philosophy on this channel has always been to surround myself by people that are smarter than me. Leo is and Immutable and Mr. Parker are all shining examples of that. Oh yeah, and don't forget Horseface, who knows his fallacies a bit better than I do. But yeah, it's. I lost my point. I just wanted to say something. So yeah,
there's many different ways to demonstrate the age of the Earth that exceed the age of 6,000 years. And the fact
that was it. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Immutable. So correct me if I'm wrong, Leo, but we have actually seen through reflections of the light coming at us, pretty much the beginning of the universe pre-Planck stage. Right?
Not pre-Planck state. Using light, the furthest back we can go would be a period that's called recombination.
Yeah, not pro-Planck stage. That's what. Yeah,
and this takes us back to about 379,000 years after the Big Bang, and that. So I'm going to get a little sciencey here. So prior to that, the universe was too dense. Atoms couldn't form because they had too much energy, and the electrons and protons couldn't form stable atoms. So they were flying around, and because of this, photons like electrons. They like to be absorbed by electrons. So the photons, which are particles of light, were just bouncing around between the electrons. They weren't going anywhere. It was like a hot soup of protons, electrons, and photons. But once the universe expanded enough, it started to cool down. The electrons bound to protons to make molecular hydrogen, or hydrogen and molecular hydrogen is like two of those put together. Created hydrogen atoms, which is just one proton, which is positively charged, and one electron negatively charged for an electrically neutral atom. Because of that, the photons could actually go without being absorbed by another electron. And so at that stage, 379,000 years, about 400,000 years after the Big Bang, just to round up to make it simple, the photons could actually free stream, as it's called, through space-time without being absorbed by anything. So it wasn't until damn near 400,000 years after the Big Bang that the first rays of light went zipping across the universe. And we can still see those photons today, and we call it the cosmic microwave background.
Yes, and I have seen you speak on that before. So thank you, Leo. Thank you for educating me.
Well, I'm kind of getting the impression that we could maybe start wrapping this up.
Yeah, it's definitely around that time. Good call, John.
And,
you guys
and,
are an
and
hour
the thing
ahead of
is
me.
like, you absolutely have to find the time to go pull out a few shorter clips from this discussion because it was excellent. And I want to thank the Christians that came by.
Yes, definitely.
Angelo, I'm glad we finally got a chance to have you on. You're welcome here anytime for an open room. And like I said, I'd like to put you and Leo together to have a discussion.
We love you, Otangelo.
Yeah, we want to put you together with Knock, for like a one-on-one if we can. But yeah, thanks to everybody that showed up.
Quite honestly, I will do it, and I look forward to it. But when I speak science with Christians, that's usually when I'm at my weakest. So, Otangelo, you would definitely have an advantage against me in that conversation. But I'm going to do it.
So we're going to start going around the room here. Oh, my apologies. And we're going to give everybody their last word. We're going to make Jay go last since he popped in here at the last second. He's a fucking joker. But anyway, Mr. Parker, your final words and let us know about your channel and what have you.
This was a pretty good discussion. I really liked how John, used the private chat to, for us people who don't have their faces up and can't raise their hands like Leo, allow us to be a little bit more civilized than create dumpster fires. I think I spoke quite a bit more than I usually would, and Leo, everyone has made good points about science and Knox debate with Gavin and how he did and how Gavin did. My channel is just Mr. Parker as it is right there. I plan to have 2 streams next week because I'm off that week. And, I just had a discussion with Knock about fascism and Trump.
Awesome discussion. I'm sorry I just have to say that was such a good discussion you two had.
And that'll be up on this channel at some point soon. Otangelo, your final words and anything we need to know about you, if you have a website or a YouTube channel.
Oh, yes, I have 2 YouTube channels. One is Intelligent Design Academy. The second one is The God Talk, where I promote chats like with you, which you had now tonight. And I have another website where I collect scientific information. It's reasoninsight.catsport.com. That's basically it. And my goal is not to seek a dialogue to destroy atheists in their views or so. What I try is to build bridges and not walls.
Excellent.
Beautiful.
Immutable. Do you have any final?
Yep. There we go. Well, this conversation was fun. We jumped around on all kinds of science. I think I'd agree with what Sunflower said. We shouldn't be hasty to discount all potential explanations. However, in the famous words of Christopher Hitchens, that which is asserted without evidence may be dismissed without evidence. And science is not in the business of understanding capital T truth. What we are able to do with science is to understand truth based upon the relative data that we gather. And the interpretations we give are directed by our mathematical models of this phenomenon. But tomorrow we are having Speed of Sound of Gravity, a channel that I'm generally affiliated with. We are having a conversation. Me, Demeter, and Aaron Ra are having a conversation on Demeter's work. And for those of you that don't know, Demeter is a person who is currently working in the origin of life field, which is quite interesting and quite interesting if you want to look into it. But yeah, that's about all.
All right, thank you, Leo Filius.
So as Immutable said, tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Demeter, who he has a PhD in molecular biology and is an origins of life researcher, will be on with Arwen Raw. Check it out. Speed of Sound of Gravity is the channel. He does a weather report every morning, just kind of talking about the things that some creationists on YouTube are saying. We also do every Saturday, sometimes on Sunday. It just kind of depends on what's going on. A Saturday night at the Atheist, which is for atheists only, unfortunately, where we do tend to play a little bit of humor toward creationists and creationism. That's just kind of a little fun time for us. So I have to show his channel a little bit. My own channel, Leo Filius, spelled just like you see on the screen there, is up. I just today got my new phone. So, and you can see the beautiful, beautiful background that I have. Beautiful person, I should say, as my background. So I will be able to verify my channel once I get my new SIM card and get my service and everything. I will verify my YouTube channel, and we'll be able to finally start uploading content and streaming content, and I'm sure that there will be a lot of it coming. You can also find me on Twitter at Leophilius, spelled just as you see it on the screen, and as always, Stan Amelia Clark.
Well, and I was just going to ask you too, and my apologies for my cat interrupting you there while you were talking. I don't know if you guys heard that, but the picture that you just showed us was of the lovely Amelia Clark.
Yes, the wonderful,
and that's the girl. Amelia. That's the woman whose background.
She portrayed Daenerys Targaryen on.
All right, hold on. Let me finish my sentence before you respond. Come on, Leo. So that's the woman that you want, whose background you want to get all up in.
No comment.
I will say that Amelia Clark is not only beautiful on the outside, but she has good beliefs and great politics.
She is an amazing, resilient, tough, strong, independent woman, and donate to her charity for neurorehabilitation and brain injury recovery, sameu.org.
Yes.
So Jay Pasick, he popped in here at the end, so presumably he has a final word. Go ahead, Jay.
Oh, I just came on here. I wasn't actually expecting to get on stage. I was just going to hopefully get in on the off-air conversation. That's where I get all my Jay Bihar exclusives.
Right.
Oh yeah, I'll probably have about an hour for off air, and I mean an hour hard stop because at 1 o'clock I have to go to bed. So,
I just do it just to harass John, keep his old ass up on me.
Well, I got bad news for you. It's boomer o'clock, and as soon as we go off air, I'm gonna have to take off. But yeah, as far as I'm John Peterson. I do content on this channel. I don't know if I'm ever going to get around to doing anything again on my channel, The Amateur Conversationalist, but maybe we'll start mirroring some shit over there. Yeah, so Saturday, I'm going to be Kevin's guest on the Trusty 8 podcast. Yeah, somebody is echoing. Yeah, I think it was Doubting.
Very good, Thomas.
So yeah, anyway, I'm going to be on the Trusty 8 podcast on Saturday night. I think it's around 8 o'clock Eastern time. If anybody is in contact with RCA, Rational Canadian Atheist, please let him know he is this week's guest on the Apostate Alliance at 11 a.m. This Wednesday, I did as I normally do, and I DM'd him, reminding him he was a guest and telling him to send me a pic of him or his avatar for the thumbnail and any links he wanted to be put in the video description. I still have not heard back from him. So if anybody has him in email or DM somewhere, you'd be doing me a big favor if you reached out to him and told him to check his Discord DMs.
Yeah, we were kind of hoping to see him tonight, but we haven't.
Yeah. And the only other thing I wanted to mention, I think it's just, and there's that boomer effect again. I think I forgot about it, so I'm gonna send it to. Oh, and somebody else popped in the room. Dotting Thomas, are you also just here for like the after stream talk?
Just ignore Thomas. He ruins everything.
Okay. But let's throw it over to our fearless leader, Nakasuchi.
But yeah, so it was a good night for me. I felt like I did really well in the debate. I came with my arguments, and then Gavin was Gavin, and I addressed his arguments. Me and John will be having future conversations about the links that Gavin provided because it's going to be great. I did get a chance to look at them very briefly before the debate started. And of course, his link about the 30 country study is actually an article in The Guardian, which is an opinion piece. It was exposed to him. He used it anyway. I still can't fucking believe it. Kind of in shock that he laid out the groundworks for his arguments for me, expecting me not to watch a channel that I frequent quite a bit. So yeah, I think it was a great night overall. I think the discussion in the after show was equally as great. There are plenty of moments from this show that I need to make time to cut out. And I hope I do. And I probably will because I've got shit going on. So I'm going to have some filler content coming soon.
Well, and I got to say, too, that I've got to get to what I've been promising Knock I would do for several months.
Episode 13.
I need to get to learn how to do this, shit of the, take some of the pressure off him and, maybe doing some of these prepared things. But
and we still have to do episode 13 of Apostate Alliance.
Right, yeah, the lost episode of Apostate Alliance. And then I did remember what it was I wanted to mention. Saturday, sometime during the day, me and Knock are going to finish up reviewing Jill's rant stream about me. And just so everybody knows, I don't know if we got to this point in his stream, but he had said in there that if I had ever went to college for even one day in my life, that he would give me $1,000. I received my college transcripts in the mail just 2 or 3 days ago. We'll be discussing that on Saturday. And Jill asked me in the comment section of his video, well, you say you've got that, but you haven't emailed them to me yet. I said, well, that's just called relishing the moment, Jill. But at any rate, get back to Knock.
Jill owes you $1,000.
Yeah.
And we're going to push that point. So, all right. So we are going to get out of here. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Stupid Whore Energy said to Knock, ? I'm not sure.
No, she was talking. I said that she needs to subscribe to my channel, and then I said maybe she is subscribed. I don't know. And she thought I was talking to your channel, which I'm sure she subscribed.
All right, cool. All right, so we are going to get out of here. I made a new Patreon screen for StreamYard.
Awesome.
But then I realized I have a new $10 donor, James Hogue. So I'm not going to run that while it's incomplete because my OCD won't allow me. Thank you, James Hogue. And new updated StreamYard Patreon screen coming next time, I promise, as long as I don't get another new patron, which I won't bitch about. So y'all have a good night. Thank you for being here. Be the conversation. Go watch the debate if you haven't, and it will be on the channel soon. Peace out.
John.